Welcome back to the Restaurant Growth Show podcast. Today, we have the privilege of hosting a restaurant author whose journey in hospitality is as inspiring as it is impressive. His new book, titled Every Leader Needs Followers: 10 Keys to Transform Restaurant Managers to Hospitality Leaders. It's a how-to quick read guide for managers to help them never lead alone again. It is being released on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We are pleased to welcome Jason E. Brooks. Jason, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
You make it sound so wonderful. Thank you so much. Good stuff.
What's happening on your side of things? Before we were recording, you're having some pipe issues. Is everything okay on that end?
You know what? It's just like the average restaurant. You walk in and then next thing you know, you start having some pipe issues and you're like, what in the world is going on? You plan your day. Next thing you know, 17 minutes to it, it's just a whole other planet.
Hey, you can't plan for this type of stuff, but that's life,
No,
you know?
just got to roll with it. That's it.
So, Jason, tell me a little bit about your background as a restaurateur, your experience. So what got you to the point of writing your book? And tell me a bit about you.
Restaurant lifer, even though I'm a restaurant lifer, man, I fought it for so many years. Like most people, we get into this and we're like, I didn't go to school to get in restaurants. Or whenever I was little, I said, I want to be a fireman. You don't really know how good you are at doing restaurant business until you bump your head one day or your spouse or best friend tells you, why are you fighting this? You are good at what you do. And then that's when we say, you know what? I want to take this further. So I started out banging out dishes at the age of 15 at a mom and pop seafood restaurant in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I've been bar manager, service manager, a sous chef, cut 2 fingertips off from showing off some, brand new knives, staring at some pretty servers when I should be looking down at the calamari. I'm looking up. I learned my lesson quick, but I've worked at 20 different restaurant brands in my 30 years of experience. And I'll tell you what, I've seen the Mona Lisa painted 20 different ways. I've seen some pieces that are like great, and then I've just seen some pieces. But it's that actually helped me to look back like, okay, how can I take what I've learned? And if it was me when I was at the middle of my process of getting into management, how can I drill down into something that just gives me 10 keys, 10 simple steps to help me be repeatable at success? And it's a 6-year project. It's something that I've had the pleasure of working with other restaurant executives. They've sent me quotes to put in the book. I thank them for taking time to give their view, their angle within each key, but it's been a wonderful project.
That's amazing. I can identify with the early parts of your journey. I was a dishwasher at 15 at an old English style, pub style restaurant. And the things I saw, man, the things I saw in that kitchen, I was doing prep cooking and dishwashing, and there were some interesting occurrences and business practices going on. We'll never name
I like the word
restaurant.
interesting.
It's true. It's true. It's true. But so I loved your book. It is a quick read, super easy to digest. We love numbers. We love like countdowns, and right. So we do our top 8, we do our top 3, our top 4, and you've got 10 keys to transform our restaurant managers into hospitality leaders. What has your experience been like as a manager compared to being an employee? What's that transformation like?
At first you first feel like, what's the word that's become very popular? Imposter syndrome. The first time someone says, hey, boss, or he's my manager or she's my manager, you get this feeling like, oh, snap, they may find out that I don't know what I'm doing. How much our industry trains people that are 18, 19, 20 to run $1 million businesses on a tight budget and do it well and under stress. And that part right there to me is just amazing. We don't even realize we do it or that it's being done to us. And making that transition, I think the hardest part for any restaurant manager or leader is understanding that it's a business first and then a restaurant restaurant second, because our memories are so fond of having fun. You know, the back dock talk, or the walk-in cooler talk, or the after shift parties, or the before shift parties. We go through all of this bonding, and we forget, once we get to a manager, sometimes that it's a business first and then a restaurant second.
Well said. There's nothing like the pressure packed scenario of a kitchen during a rush. And if that doesn't teach a business person, no matter what industry you're in, if that doesn't teach you to be efficient and effective at your craft, at your job, in your department, wherever that may be, I don't know what can, because the pressure is real. The pressure is on. So we've got a special focus on the Restaurant Growth Show on technology. So I'm going to lead with more of a technology based type of question here, Jason. Yep. How can restaurant leaders ensure effective data sharing, considering your observation that the data has to flow, be accessible, and be highly visible?
What you're speaking to is my very first key in the book, which is master your KPIs. Master your KPIs is one of the basic foundations that a manager has to have in order for them to reach to the next level of a hospitality leader. Whenever we look at how can we use data, I think that both Crew app and 7 Shifts does it very well, using technology to help send out messages to the different teams, but making sure that the message is relevant to the team member's role. You know, we can overshare easily. We do that a lot, not just in the hospitality industry, but in every industry, we can overshare. But finding ways of, if it's a goal for the shift, for the week, for the period, whether it's sales goals or seating times or greet times or recooks or waste tracking, finding ways to have your service manager, your bar manager, your kitchen manager put out the right message for the right focus through these apps to help drill your team back into what the focus should be for that day. Because we have a lot of things on our mind, whether manager or crew. We are thinking about bills, kids, spouse, doctor, and whenever you can get that ding, and you know they love to check that ding or that buzz to be able to say, okay, for my shift today, my goal is XYZ, but not just putting it on the general manager, having your bar manager or kitchen manager put those messages out to make it relevant for their teams prior to them coming in. That's how we can really get the data sharing dialed in.
Absolutely. We talk about 7 Shifts all the time. Actually, we've mentioned them in several different episodes. We think they do a fantastic job. Jose?
I was just thinking that when it comes to data sharing, and nowadays with technology, the restaurants have a lot of data that comes from just every tech stack that they have or acquire. What is the best way to overcome that fear of sharing data, as you discussed, like this issue of managers fearing the team knowing too much?
I think that first, there's a few reasons why managers don't want to share data. First one is that they think that the team member doesn't want that much data, that they don't want that much info. But let's be honest, most people that work for us, they want to know how a business runs, whether they're going to be a school teacher or build rockets or be a barber. What we learn within the restaurant business about our customers, about sales mix, about when it gets busy, what to do with profits, how to allocate that out within the P&Ls, all of that data is important. And so don't think that we're being overbearing with our crew. We're actually helping them grow. Second reason why most people fear sharing data is because the owner or the manager, they don't understand it themselves. They don't know what the numbers mean. So they don't know how to share it or how to teach it to someone else. The third reason is probably, I think, the worst reason is that some people think that there's power in holding information. But the only thing that you're doing really is creating more work for yourself and creating distrust within your business. Sharing really is caring when it comes down to data. Now, you have to keep customer data protected through encryption, through software updates, through proper training. You have to do all of the things with that kind of data to make sure that there's not any any data breaches, but sharing data, sharing sales, and also finding ways to reach out to get the data from our customers and implement it into our systems for better real-time feedback. I'll say one more piece. The data that we get, I definitely see it being used for our operations, for us to be better at projecting sales and what's going to be sold. We use too much human emotion these days in order to say it's Tuesday. On Tuesday, I always prep this, or it's going to be this busy, or we'll sell this. AI and data right now helps us to take that human emotion out and takes a more patterned approach to what's going on around us that we may not pick up on to help us run our business better.
I love it. I love it. I think it's like that sense of like, oh, it's an art. And it's like, no, why don't you look at the numbers? It's right there. The signals are for you to make decisions on it. And I love your reason, because we see that a lot. Like when we're working with operators and helping them with the marketing, helping them with the whatever kind of data, sometimes it's the approach of like, what does that even mean, right? Like I don't, can you break it down to me? Like just make it simple. And I think that is a big fear, especially when they feel that the operators, they get so much new technology, so many sources of data, and to be humble and say,
Don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Need help.
Just don't know.
No, what do I do with it? Right. But I think one of my favorite things about the so to speak corporatization of that you're doing the book is that the culture, and you just said it a second ago. If you distrust, if you're creating that culture for in your team, and we had an episode where I talk about how the happy employee translates into a happy customer, and if you build that distrust, guess what? That's going to be the environment. That's going to be the context that everything happens under, and let's see how that goes.
Yeah, we definitely fueled the fire of our environment more than we know. And we think that we may be doing it for the right reason. But when our team sees us and then and then copies us, and it then translates to the customer with something like, I don't want to share things. I don't want to be open. That's the opposite of hospitality. And even whenever we look at the operational side and then the data side, the more hospitable we can be is from getting more information to help you choose that decision prior to knowing that you want to make that choice. And that's where we have to pull that into our systems in order to take that next step.
You know what? One thing that I really miss about restaurants these days, and now I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but I really miss
by using fuddy-duddy, yes, you actually are.
It's a lose-lose situation for me now. What I really miss in the restaurant industry is walking into my favorite restaurant and being greeted by the host or hostess or my waiter, and they say, your usual table, your usual drink, your usual meal, right? And it's all right there for me. And that doesn't exist anymore, but it can exist. It can be predicted by using data, even in QSRs with fast food or fine dining. We're using the data that we have at our fingertips that we're all collecting. We're able to predict when I usually come in, what I usually eat, what I usually drink, what service type that I prefer. And I think restaurants are missing the mark. They're not attempting to make this happen for the average guest in their restaurant. And that is the beauty of data. That's where we need to get to, because, hey, there's a real labor challenge within the entire industry. The waitress that has worked at our local restaurant for 15 years and knows everybody by their first name, knows their family, knows their situation, knows what they usually like to order, that doesn't exist anymore, right? And so we need to take data and create those personalized, customized experiences. So I feel you on the need for data to help run a better business.
Yep. I do agree. You know, it's funny how restaurant managers tend to shy away from change. They definitely want to be a bit more focused with, this is the way that I've always done things. Yet still, how they do their truck order has changed. How they have to create their menu has changed. What the price that they used to pay has changed. And we have to stop being the last industry to be technologically advanced. We need to start being one of the first ones. One of those reasons why is because we see people 3 times per day. What other industry sees someone 3 times per day? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we have to get ahead of these things and not shy away and be so old school and say, well, my restaurant will never use data or will never have an app because that's not my people. Well, when's the last time you called Domino's, waited for the phone to ring, got put on hold, finally placed your order, gave them your address? You didn't. You opened up the app and you ordered a pizza. So if they can do it, you can do it too.
Oh,
Exactly.
The biggest example is it's online ordering before the pandemic. I mean, I was selling that. You get your app, get your system, your online system. People are going to use it. If you have it, they will definitely use it. It's convenient. And then the pandemic hit and it was, please help me, right? And it's like,
Yep.
you don't have to wait for a pandemic to adopt new
No.
technologies and to learn something new, or to change the systems or to implement something that is trying to help you.
I want to
Yeah,
shift. Sorry, Jose, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead. No, just thinking that the resistance is huge.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep.
I want to shift gears a little bit here and come back to the leadership aspect of management within the restaurant. Jason, could you highlight some key steps for effective one-on-one restaurant meetings, especially considering the importance of a two-way dialogue?
This is very controversial. And I say this because within the environment, we tend to think that I'm always talking to my people. Why do I need to do a one-on-one? Well, you're always talking to your people, dumping on them the things you want to dump on them. When do you create time for them to let you know what's going on their mind? So that's where one-on-ones are the most important. There's 6 simple steps for someone to take to make one-on-ones more effective. First one, schedule it just like clocking in for both parties to see. And then that way, you are making time for it. Number 2, they are never to be missed unless death or crazy illness, but never miss a one-on-one. That sets the tone that you don't find spending time to get to know your team as important. Third one, the number one focus is on them and not you talking to them, but you speaking only 35% of the time and listening 65% of the time. Number 4, make your one-on-ones 30-minute session, which goes back to number 3, meaning the first 10 minutes, you let your employee talk to you about anything that they want to. It can be personal, it can be family, it can be sports, whatever. The second 10 minutes is for you to give follow-ups from your prior one-on-one. The final 10 minutes is for them to talk to you about their development, about their career. When you set it up like that, it gives them time to break the ice. It gives you time to let them know, I remember what you asked me at the last session. Let me give you those answers now. And then the third is setting up for the next session for you to help them give tips or do some more research on their development. Now, number 5, take notes. When is the last time you said anything that goes inside my mind steel trap, it gets caught and I never forget it? That's a lie. We can't say that. We forget everything. So that's why taking notes is very important, and make it handwritten. When it's handwritten, it makes it authentic. Finally, number 6 goes back to number 5. Since it's handwritten, no devices. Now, I know that this is a tech show, but for number 6, no devices, because you don't want to waste time scrolling. And whenever you're making notes on a phone, it looks like you're texting your spouse, you're answering in email. You want it to be focused on them. But those are the 6 tips to help make one-on-ones in a restaurant more structured.
That's fantastic. I mean, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right?
Yes.
Listen,
35,
listen more.
65.
Listen more. Jose?
In your P4 model, okay, you stress purpose in meetings. And I love the concept of purpose because it creates a context results are, or context, purpose, results. Can you expand on its significance for restaurant leaders?
Well, purpose in meetings, I think that, and purpose in restaurant leadership first. The purpose in restaurant leadership is for us to leave them better than when we found them, whether they're with us for 1 day, 1 week, 10 years. That the purpose for us being leaders is to leave the people better than when they first crossed out our paths or that we hired them. Now, the purpose in a meeting is to make a decision that wouldn't have been made unless that group of people sat down at that table. If you're making a meeting just to have a meeting, it makes no sense. Restaurant meetings, you have to have a purpose of, I'm asking you to step away from doing these duties to sit down at this table. And if you didn't, we couldn't come to that decision to make the next step forward as a team. And that is the simple answer to the purpose in meetings and the purpose in our restaurant leadership.
Love it.
I feel like I need to be writing this stuff down, and I feel guilty that I have devices open. Very, very well said. And I couldn't agree more. And this just doesn't extend to the restaurant industry. This is good advice for any business leader in any scenario. Jason, how can restaurant managers use the path, quote unquote, step to ensure clarity and commitment? As you mentioned, path is the roadmap to achieve your purpose.
Whenever we say path, one of the things that I still dial into is key number 6, which is mastering your meetings, which still goes along the same vein. Our path has to be repeatable steps. When we look at how a business, the restaurant business, even hotels, how they become successful is that they have repeatable steps that people can view as almost a culture. Whenever we can create a clear path for our team, that means that we are always reviewing the same things in the same order so they can know what to expect. I like to always think about big rocks. Now, we've all heard of big rocks, but I like to propose a new acronym called BIG, not because I like the rapper, but BIG, as be believable, that whatever goals you have, they have to be believable. I, intentional, meaning that you have to be putting effort behind these goals. And then G, grounded. Grounded meaning that if we weren't doing this as a business, we would not be successful. So big rocks helps to create the path of what we cover every single time to help get clear about what our focus should be. So you make your 3 to 4 big rocks. Then after that is your whirlwind items. We've also heard of the term whirlwind. It's all of the things that are important, but just drive you crazy. But you still have to do it, whether it's payroll or something like that, or even marketing, which is still good. It's still important, but sometimes as operators, it drives us crazy. When you can create a system of communication that is repeatable, your team becomes more clear on the path of what needs to be done. They will focus on the top 3 to 4 things first, and then still know that those whirlwind items that drive them crazy, but are still important and still have to get done, they know how to always be focused on the right things.
Very well said, my friend. I think that we can all get lost in KPIs, key performance indicators, and get lost in that cycle. I think I have a new favorite acronym, and that is BIG. love to hear that. I think you're right on point with that analogy. We're running a little bit short on time here. I'm going to end with these thoughts. Hospitality is not just about serving food and drinks. It's about creating experiences, building connections, and constantly evolving. So keep pushing boundaries and stay curious. Jason, now's your time to plug away. Where can restaurateurs connect with you? What's your platform of choice?
They can get to me online, get at me online, jasonebrooks.com. And my new book, you can find it at jasonebrooks.com/every leader. It is on Amazon. Search for Every Leader Needs Followers. The book is dropping in March while I am at the Bar and Restaurant Expo on stage. So it's going to be big. And one more thing. I'm actually my goal, my mission is to put this book in the hands of 10,000 food service workers. And I'm going to do that through a partnership with Giving Kitchen. My goal is to give Giving Kitchen $30,000 in the first 30 days that this book comes out. So for every book sold, I'm going to give Giving Kitchen $3 on every book sold. Giving Kitchen helps food service workers in need. I help food service workers transform into hospitality leaders. So absolutely pre-order the book whenever the book drops in March. Log in and give back to Giving Kitchen and give a tool to your team to help them transform into hospitality leaders.
That is fantastic. I can't wait for the book launch. I can't wait to check in with you, Jason, on your ultimate goal. We definitely want to have you back on the show because we want to hear about the progress. We want to hear about how the book is doing and how, the launch is going, all of that good stuff. Speaking of plugs, this podcast is sponsored by Dine Pricing, real-time restaurant profitability. Dine Pricing uses artificial intelligence to improve restaurant profitability by dynamically updating menus across digital channels like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. That is all the time we have for this episode. Thanks again to Jason Brooks for joining us. That was a fantastic
Thank
episode.
you, Jose. Thank you, Gordon.
I feel incredibly motivated. I want to go out and accomplish something right now. I'm super energized, Jason.
Let's do it.
Let's go, man. Let's go. I'm saying that's all the time we have for today's episode. Until next week, say goodbye, Jose.
Goodbye, Jose.
That was amazing, Jason. Thank you so much.
Thank you.